So our first article of the day has to do with our medical device cybersecurity. And this is from ZDNet, as you can probably see if you're watching. But man, this is just frankly huge, because these medical devices that people are buying, hospitals are buying, doctors' offices are buying, they're buying them with the thought in mind that they are going to last for a long time. And, you know, they're expensive too. Medical devices are 10 times more costly in some cases than just the same version that's not medical. And that has to do with, of course, the problem of getting sued and the medical liability and everything that surrounds that. But basically, everything that has a power cord is going to end up being on, guess what? The internet, if it isn't already. Now, that, if you ask me, is a very big problem, because they're going to be connected very shortly to the internet. Well, here's the real problem as it comes up. This week at DEF CON being that really kind of the hackers conference. It's the conference after the hackers conference, to be a little bit more precise. But what we found was at their medical village that a lot of these devices that were provided for the hackers to hack at were very hackable. And at the DEF CON cybersecurity conference earlier this month, the hackers found that within 30 seconds of connecting to these medical devices that they were testing, he had unrestricted PowerShell access to the system, and was using a vulnerability in the file manager that's on the Windows platform. Well, you know, you think about it, so many of these devices are embedded, right? They have embedded Linux, or they have embedded Unix of some sort. It might be FreeBSD, it might be QNX, and very likely it's Windows. And Windows is used because it's so popular. It is so easy to find cheap programmers who don't know what they're doing much of the time to be able to program for Windows. So what they do is they take a special version of Windows, because Windows is not Windows is not Windows. Okay, Windows sometimes is, it's like you'd expect on your desktop, right? And then there are at least 10 other versions that are designed for different types of machines to be able to run them. And generically, they're real-time Windows. They might be portable Windows. The Windows Phone has been shot in the head, in case you didn't know. If you have a Windows Phone, you should get rid of it ASAP. And my advice, as you probably already know, is to go to Apple. Not that I own any Apple stock or anything, but Apple has the #1 platform right now when it comes to cybersecurity. So these embedded versions of Windows are Windows that are compiled and made specifically for these machines. For these machines that are running your cardiac monitor, that are running the pumps that are keeping you with the drugs you need. Some of them you need to stay alive, frankly. I don't like that idea. I never would have chosen Windows in the first place, ever. Okay, it's usually the worst idea possible. But anyhow, that's what they're doing. So they were able to hack into one of these devices that has embedded Windows that's used to run this key piece of medical equipment in 30 seconds. Now, there is new guidance out from the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, that of course regulates a lot of this stuff, telling people that here's what you should do if you're a developer, if you own a medical device company, here's what you should do. But frankly, it's good guidance that's in there, and you'll see this article up on my website at craigpeterson.com. But any systems that are built with that guidance are probably 3 to 4 years away, and then they're going to be in the system being used for another 10 or more years. 15 years is not unheard of. So anything you're buying today that was not built secure by design, and that includes Windows, by the way, although Windows 10, they made some major changes to it. It's much more Unix-like, so it's much safer. Windows 10 isn't as bad as Windows used to be. But if it isn't designed with secure by design, it's just likely to be just rifled full of all kinds of holes, okay? Very, very bad thing. Now, ultimately, most companies that are trying to be secure are going to something that's called the zero trust model. And the zero trust model says, hey, basically, we're not going to trust any of the machines on the network. So right now, if you plug a machine into a network and you plug another machine into the same network, they can talk to each other, can't they? So that is not a zero trust network. A zero trust network is where you plug a device into the network and it cannot talk, no matter how hard it tries. It cannot talk with any other device on the network. It has to go through a special firewall that says, okay, well, we don't think that an accounting machine should have access to the CAT scan machine. We don't think that the controller that controls the temperature in the room should be able to talk to some life-critical machine that's out there. And we're going to talk about cybersecurity here coming up in the show, where we're concerned about that very thing also in our critical infrastructure. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I've been doing webinars for the FBI's InfraGuard program. And we talk about this stuff all of the time, and there are improvements being made. But if a device that's not secure is on a network with another device that may be relatively secure, but again, with embedded Windows or other embedded operating systems, you never really know how secure it really is, and it might take forever before it's fixed because whoever does firmware updates, right? Have you done that? Have you updated the firmware in your little thermostat up there in the wall? Have you even updated your Windows? And we'll talk about that later on when we get into the patching stuff. But a zero trust model says we just can't trust having these machines talk to each other. So we're going to control what services they have access to on the other machine, and we're going to block certain machines from getting to various places back and forth. So that's the ultimate. And we have the ability to roll out zero trust models, and we've done it in some very small enterprises. The problem that we found, and what you need to do if you're looking to do zero trust in your business, is to roll it out slowly, right? Because people still need to do their jobs. Anything you do, they're going to complain about. It's an excuse to not do their job. So it gets kind of difficult. But keep this in mind. If you are in a hospital, not only is it a dangerous place to be if you're sick, because there's diseases there you just can't get anywhere else, but it turns out it's a dangerous place for cybersecurity.